Hi, my name is Robert Stevens, and I'm a writer with Orchestrated Pulse as well as a labor organizer in Chicago. So I work for a union that organizes in the service sector. So that's hotel workers, casino workers, as well as food service workers in cafeterias at universities and corporations, as well as in airports. Actually the first union leader that I ever met was when I was living in Bolivia. And he was responsible for being the backbone of the water war. And he actually had to flee the country and get a passport at the last minute and rush out. The stakes were that real. The water war was this resistance movement that started at the street level in Cachapa, where the people were fighting against an international corporation that wanted to privatize their water. So that made a big impression on me, just the power of these types of material struggles against how stuff is made and distributed, and the power that workers really can have in affecting how the society runs. So that was in 2008. So I talked a bit about how that experience of seeing material struggle and the people who did it on the front lines, talking to them, meeting them, transformed the way that I was thinking about the trajectory of my life. Because up to that point, I'd only really been thinking about my lived experiences, being denied the full privileges of citizenship as a US American citizen. And that was the full scope of my understanding of oppression, really. And it wasn't until I was there that I had to confront the realities of my role, not only as someone who's subjugated by US power, but one that is involved in perpetuating it. And that was something I had never considered, and it made me know that solidarity and resistance isn't a manifestation of your identity or some sort of historically rooted social category, but rather solidarity and resistance are made through struggle. And that struggle is what can really unify a coherent political movement. So I saw that in action in Bolivia. I learned how they went through the stages of their development, with whatever problems came along with it as well, but they went through the stages of fighting. And that made a big impression on me. So when I came back to the United States, I knew that I wanted to get involved in similar kind of struggles. And in fact, one of the things that I do with my writing at Orchestrated Pulse is I try to bridge these connections analytically, but not just that, but I also try to use the exposure that I get through that platform to actually help these connections manifest in real life. So one of the things I did was I met people who do water organizing in Detroit, and I connected them with people that I knew that did the water war in Bolivia, and they actually connected and had they did a University Without Borders project together to talk about how does resistance to water privatization work transnationally. And so, that's the kind of work, that's what I'm really seeing as the future, is how do we put people in positions, how do we develop skilled organizers from the working class, and how do we connect those organizers not only to their communities in whatever city they live in, but into movements abroad and around, obviously around the world. So that's my passion, and so being here at this conference today and meeting people from Venezuela and really getting to see that this is a wave, this is this idea that yes, our identities matter. Those are the histories, the life stories, the experiences that motivate us or that constrain us or affect us in various ways. But how do we begin to build movements that transform the society and consequently change the outcomes for our experiences, for our histories, for how we define ourselves or are defined by others? And so I got a chance to meet people who are engaged in a similar kind of struggle, and what I want to do is keep building that, because clearly it's a wave, and it felt good to not be the only one. And so the fact that I know that not only do I know what's happening in the abstract in Venezuela, but I can talk to people now that are actually on the ground fighting for similar things that I'm fighting for here in the United States. And I know that connection is real and that it's growing, and that, there's a reciprocity that we can establish, that motivates me. And I hope, it motivates you all as well, and that we can keep this thing going. Really, like, the struggle there was one of the reasons why I went to Bolivia. Like I said, I went in 2008. So I was watching from afar, and I was like really isolated as a kid. I lived in a suburb in Minnesota that like voted for Bush, that like was really conservative and Republican. And so learning about the struggles that in the early part of the last decade, learning about the resistance, people from El Pueblo coming down to like save the revolution, really, save the struggle from a coup, and like I was learning about all those things from afar, and they made me feel less alone, and gave me kind of a guide to figuring out what it is that I wanted to do with my life. How did I want to struggle? How did I want to contribute? Because I see us as being part of a common struggle. And so, yeah, what I'm hoping to do is to go from being inspired by what you all are doing, which I obviously hope continues, but to participating in whatever way I can in building it internationally and playing my part. And so, yeah, I think like keep pushing. It's a way. Like it's not just one person. It's not one group. Like this thing is bigger than all of us because we're making it so. So yeah, I want to see that keep going.
Será el tecato, el mendigo, la prostituta, será los ingenieros o la gente astuta. Será resulta que nos han engañado, que en el puerto de Troya amaneció un caballo. ¿Será que acaso hay que escoger el lado de quienes se sonríen con los dientes robados? Quien dice welcome PR incorporado, y empujo las montañas en el nombre del asfalto. Sube las manos porque este es un asalto, vine a robarte el alma si fuese necesario. Quien dijo pueblo sin lavarse los dientes.